Hello and welcome back to the Wasteland, everybody. Welcome back to New Vegas, where today we're going to be doing a tier list for New Vegas. And a tier list that I've already kind of done, but we're actually going to be doing two for this one. So this is going to be the chems tier list in Fallout New Vegas. But instead of just ranking how good the chems actually are in terms of stats, I also have another list over here as to whether or not I would be willing to take these chems. I was given this idea when I was streaming the other day, since I made a recent tier list talking about all the food and drinks that are in Fallout 3, and whether or not I would drink them as well as whatever their stats are. But I never did that with the chems for any of the games. So we're going to do that for New Vegas here, as well as one of these chems, at least last time that I talked about it. I wasn't aware of some of the effects that it did have. So let's go over these, and we've got our tiers here, where we've got God Mode in a Syringe. These are some of the best chems in the game. Day Tripper, which are pretty good. Rad Rationing, which is not really the best, but you might want to use them for one thing or another. And then Junkie, which are pretty much the worst chems. On the other tier list, we've got Going for a Trip, the ones that I would most likely be willing to take. The maybe ones, depending on the situation, and the no way ones, because either they sound terrifying or just very dangerous. Let us begin with the Queen Ant Pheromones. So Queen Ant Pheromones give you +3 Charisma, -3 Intelligence, and -3 Perception. This one I'm going to put into like Rad Rationing. It's okay if you need the Charisma bonus, but losing Intelligence and Perception kind of sucks if you need to do hacking or lockpicking within a certain amount of time. So that's not really the best. You can't get addicted to these though, so that's kind of cool. As to whether or not I would eat Queen Ant Pheromones, maybe? I would be kind of curious just to see what they're like. And if they don't have any addictive thing on them, the worst that happens is they taste awful and I guess make you sick, so... Alright, we'll stick with that. Then we've got Antivenom. Antivenom cures animal poison. This one's good. Having an Antivenom, I'm just going to put it up into the God mode. This is useful if you get stung by like Hasdors or something. Same with, like, would I take Antivenom? Yeah. It doesn't have any addiction, so I guess going on a trip isn't really the best category for this, but just not getting poisoned or not getting envenomated would be very good. If that doesn't happen though, Antivenom is really nice. Then we have Ant Nectar. This one actually does have an addiction rate, which is kind of funny. It only has a 5% addiction rate though. And this one gives you +4 Strength, -2 Charisma, and -2 Intelligence. Again, this one's probably going to go into the Rad Rationing. +4 Strength is good if you need to carry stuff, but that's about it. The Charisma and Intelligence doesn't matter too much unless you need to get through like speech checks and hacking. So it's kind of okay. Again, would I try eating this? Probably not. This one has addictive properties, and you don't want to be the weirdo in the Wasteland known for getting addicted to ant nectar. I mean, I guess that's not the worst addiction you could have in the Wasteland, but still, like, I don't want to get addicted and start just digging up ant holes to try to lick more nectar out of them. Then we've got the Auto Eject Stimpak. This one just heals you, although these ones do weigh something. These ones automatically work once you're at 50% HP, and they give you +90 HP, unless you're playing on the hardcore difficulty, then it's healing over time. So this one I'm going to put up into the God mode in a syringe. This one's just really nice. It's nice to have some of these, although you probably don't want a whole lot of them, because they do actually weigh something. Same thing goes with the Super Stimpak. This one does have the Stimpak withdrawal on it, which is not as good, because that makes it so you're going to have some amount of health decrease, although this one does heal you up more. This one automatically works at 25%, and this one also gives you the Super Stimpak Sickness, which makes it so for the next little while you have -1 Strength and -1 Agility. Not really the best, but if it keeps you alive, then that's really good. As to whether or not I would use these, usually I would say no to needles, but these ones do just straight up heal you, so I would say going on a trip, even though you can't get addicted to either of these, I would be more hesitant about the Super Stimpak though, as opposed to the regular Stimpak, so depends. Then we've got Blood Shield. This is one that you can make in Honest Hearts, and this one does weigh something. This one gives you a little bit of healing, and this one gives you poison resistance. There's actually no downside to using this, so I would put it up into Day Tripper. It's not quite as good as like Antivenom, because there's not a whole lot of poisonous enemies in the game. There's like or venomous enemies in the game. There's pretty much just like the Hasdors that are a major threat. The Rad Scorpions have it too, but usually you don't have to worry about them too much. Having some amount of poison resist is nice, and healing is good, so this one's not bad. As to whether or not I would take it, maybe? I don't remember actually what's in Blood Shield. I know you can make it, and if it has weird stuff in it, actually I can just look it up. Spore plant pods, barrel cactus, and cave fungus in it. The spore plant pods are a little bit weird because those are people. I don't know if I'd feel great about eating people. Although on the last list when I was talking about Fallout 3, I said maybe to the human flesh, so I guess I gotta put it up in maybe. And I guess the cave fungus also eats human flesh. Maybe that's what it's being fed to. and then the cave fungus gets unique properties, in which case then maybe I would be more likely to take it. So Buffout does have an addiction rate of 10%, and this one gives you plus 3 endurance, plus 60 maximum HP, and plus 2 strength. All of these are actually really, really good, because this does keep you alive. So I'm going to put it up into the God mode in a syringe, because Buffout is probably one of the more useful chems just to be using both for utility and for combat purposes, because sometimes you do just want to run away, and having more HP is going to make that a little bit easier. It also makes it so if you're playing on the hardcore difficulty, it's a way to actually give you instant amount of healing too, even though this is total percent health healing, or total amount of healing. So you will get more health there, and it will come down after a while. If you can still survive the encounter and then heal back up to full, losing that amount of HP a little bit later isn't going to matter. So Buffout is super useful in those circumstances. As to whether or not I would take Buffout, probably, at least in bad circumstances in the Wasteland, or if I needed to carry more stuff. Buffout, I'm pretty sure, is supposed to be like steroids of some sort. I'm not entirely certain how these work, because they seem to be pills. So maybe it's something else, and I could be wrong about that. But yeah, Buffout is an interesting one that you would probably want to have a bottle on you just in case, you know? Carrying it around the Wasteland would probably be a good idea. Next up, we got Cat Eye. Cat Eye just makes it so you have the low light vision. This is similar to like the night vision scope that the varmint rifle can have. It's kind of like the night vision that the riot gear helmets can have. So that's kind of cool. You don't really need this at any point in the game, and generally I would just say sell it, because it's worth at least a decent amount. There's not actually a whole lot of super dark areas unless you're playing with like a really dark monitor, or you've got mods to make the game more of like a horror game, in which case Cat Eye could be decent, but those other options do kind of make it less useful too, since the helmet doesn't really have any downsides if you want to use it. So I'd put it into Junkie. It's not really that great. As to whether or not I would try Cat Eye, probably. I'd want to see in the dark. I think that'd be kind of cool. It might freak me out for a little bit as to why my vision turned purple all of a sudden, but hey, it would be something interesting, and this doesn't have an addiction rate on it, so I'd be willing to try it. Then we've got the Coyote Tobacco Chew. This one you can find all around the Wasteland. This one does have an addiction rate of 10%. This one gives you +1 perception and +1 agility, and it also takes away sleep in the hardcore mode. So I'm going to put this one up into rad rationing. It's not bad if you want to use it. It's not way great though either. +1 and +1 isn't a huge difference, and having an addiction rate is not great, but you can find this all over the place. So if you need to use it, go ahead and use it. As to whether or not I would try this, no, probably not. Chew is pretty gross. I wouldn't have that, although this is like fresh from the leaf, so maybe it's a bit better. I've never actually had tobacco chew. It doesn't seem appealing to me at all though. So that's why I'd put it in like the no way. Maybe it'd be different if it is directly from the plant and if it's, you know, fresh or something, but I don't, well, you have to dry these out, I'm pretty sure. So then we've got the DATara Antivenom, which this one, it just works the same as regular Antivenom, but it weighs something. So I'm going to put it a tier less because it's just not as useful as regular Antivenom. As to whether or not I would use this, yeah, probably. It's just more Antivenom. You can't get addicted to it, so that's kind of cool. And then we've got the DATara Hide. This one gives you 1 damage threshold for a minute. It has no addiction rate. This one I would put up into Day Tripper. Getting 1 more damage threshold is good, but it's not game-breakingly good or anything. It's just kind of nice to have. So yeah, it's fine. As to whether or not I would try this, sure, why not? It just gives you a bonus. There's no addiction rate. It might taste terrible, but it is just a bonus. Then we get to some of the more heavy stuff where we got Dixon's Jet. So Dixon's Jet gives you +10 action points for 240 seconds, although this one has an extremely high addiction rate of 50%. This one is going to go to Junkie. This one is pretty much garbage. You don't want to be taking this. Dixon cannot be trusted, so don't be taking his chems. They're more addictive than other chems. As to whether or not I would use this, no way. Like, Jet, for anybody unaware of what Jet actually was originally in the Fallout games, this was supposed to be meth, so that's not the best. You really shouldn't be doing that, as well as this was changed, as well as quite a few other names were changed for various reasons to sell Fallout. The original Fallout 1 had problems getting sold in Australia because of the regulations that are there, so that's why Jet is called Jet, because I think they were going to call it meth before that. And same thing goes with Med-X. Med-X was supposed to be morphine, as well as a couple other ones. I don't remember what Psycho was supposed to be. And they might have changed a few other names around just to give them something different so you didn't exactly know what the chems were. It's just kind of one of those funny things. Dixon's Jet in the Fallout world is supposed to be even worse than that because it's mixed with... I think it was supposed to be mixed with like heavy alcohol. I'm assuming something like moonshine mixed in with meth, which you really shouldn't be doing. That would be really bad for your health, so don't do that. Then we got a doctor's bag. Doctor's bag are fantastic. This heals all of your crippled limbs, and this is the only way to heal crippled limbs outside of talking to a doctor or using Hydra on the hardcore difficulty. So this one is really good. That's going to go up to God mode. As to whether or not I'd use a doctor's bag, yeah. That one's a weird one because it's just going to be useful. You should probably have a doctor's bag on you whenever you're wandering around the wasteland anyway, just in case something bad does happen, which there's a good chance that something bad will happen. So having medical supplies, especially clean medical supplies, is going to go a long way in the wasteland. Then we got the fiery per something or another. I can't say this name. This one is the same as Antivenom, but this one gives you -1 endurance, and it takes away your rads a little bit, which is kind of cool, but it's still not as good as like regular Antivenom, so it's going to go up there. As to whether or not I would use this, maybe. It's not going to be as good as Antivenom, so I don't really see a point in trying to take it if you can, but I mean, getting rid of your rads might be useful in the wasteland depending on where you're at. Then we got the Fire Ant Nectar. This one also has an addiction rate of 5%. This one gives you fire resistance, gives you +4 agility, and gives you -3 intelligence. This one's also going to go to the rad rationing. Like, fire resistance is cool, but there's not a whole lot of things that use fire in New Vegas. The +4 agility is good for a VATS build, though, if you want to get more action points, so that's kind of cool. As to whether or not I would try this, probably no way. Again, I don't want to be the guy addicted to, like, drinking ant nectar. Like, I gotta go get my fix. Gotta go raid, like, underground ant burrows so that I can try to suck up their nectar. It would just be one of those things that you wouldn't want to have around the wasteland. And then we got Fixer. This temporarily fixes all addictions that you're suffering from for 2 minutes. This one's kind of useful though. I would put it up into like Day Tripper. It's good to have on hand if you do get addicted to stuff. But if you have like high addiction resistance, or if you're taking like Logan's Loophole in the early game, then you don't need this at all and you can just sell them. Later on, they may not be as useful if you get like chem resistance, assuming again you're not running like Logan's Loophole, or you've swapped it off thanks to the Old World Blues perk swap or trait swap, so that one's pretty nice. As to whether or not I'd use this, yeah, it's probably good to have Fixer on you in the wasteland as well. You might as well put it in your medic bag, because if you do need to take something like Buffout to survive, then if you get addicted to it, having something like Fixer to get rid of the withdrawal symptoms before you can get to a doctor is just naturally a smart move, I would say. So yeah, Fixer's going to be good to have in the wasteland. And then we got the Ghost Sight. So this one gives you Ghost Vision. This is basically the same as Cat Eye. It just lasts a little bit longer. You can make this in dead money. This one is also going to go to the junk. It's just not really that great. You don't need it. It doesn't have any addiction rate, though. As to whether or not I would try this, I would say no way, because of this being part of the cloud and everything, and the cloud is toxic and eats away at your lungs. I wouldn't want to ingest this, because I don't know what it would do to my stomach either, or my esophagus or anything like that. So yeah, the cloud residue stuff I'm not messing with. That just seems like poison, and I wouldn't want to drink poison. And then we have the Healing Poultice. I don't know if I'm saying that one right. I don't think I am. I think that one's pronounced a different way. But this one restores limb condition, which is really good. It's similar to like the doctor's bag, as well as it gives you some healing, but it gives you -1 to your agility. These ones don't weigh very much though, so it's pretty nice to have if you do need it. I would put it up into Day Tripper because they're still really good, but if you have doctor's bags, they're just going to be better, and I would say Hydra is something better than this too. As to whether or not I would use this, yeah, probably. I mean, fixing your limbs is going to be useful. I wouldn't want to wander around with broken anything in the wasteland, because that would just be incredibly painful and pretty hazardous to your health in most situations. So having something like this would certainly be useful, if somewhat kind of magical as to how it puts your bones back together. Then we've got the Healing Powder. Healing Powder is something that you learn to make pretty early on. This one just gives you healing over time. It does weigh something, and this one gives you -2 perception. I'm going to put this into the rad rationing. It's usually not as good as other foods that you can get. Even into the early game, you can still get a decent amount of food that's pretty good, like the Sunset Sarsaparillas heal you a good amount. So Healing Powder is not something that I usually go for, but if you want to make it, it works, and I do like that it's a callback to Fallout 2, where Healing Powder was generally like the main way that you healed in the early game throughout that game. So having it appear in New Vegas, again, is pretty awesome. As to whether or not I would try Healing Powder, sure. I mean, I don't see why not. Neither of the things that you use are weird or addictive, so that's pretty good. You might as well use it if you need it. And then we've got Hydra. Hydra is one of the best chems in the hardcore difficulty, because this one automatically restores your limb condition and it heals it over time. It does have an addiction rate of 10% though. So you can get addicted to this somewhat easily, not as easy as some of the other things we've talked about, but I would put this up into God mode in a syringe. It's really, really good to have extra Hydra on you, just so that you can use it more often to heal up your limbs on that difficulty. As to whether or not I would use Hydra, I would probably have it in the medic bag, at the very least. It's pretty good for that reason. I mean, again, healing my broken bones is going to be awesome, especially if I get any. So I would, again, probably want to take this, put it in my medic bag, and then put Fixer in there just in case I got addicted so I could get rid of that too. Then we've got Jet. Jet gives you plus 15 more action points for 240 seconds. This one does have a 20% addiction rate, so it's still pretty high. And honestly, I don't find Jet to be all that useful unless you're going with a VATS build, which I don't use VATS all that much in New Vegas, so I'd put it in Rad Rationing for me personally, but if you use VATS a lot, I could see you bumping it up another tier, especially if you're going to the Logan's Loophole, where you don't need to worry about the addiction rate, or if you have just like Chem Resist, in which case then it's going to be better too, because that'll cut it at least in half in terms of addiction rates, which is nice. As to whether or not I would use Jet, no. Again, staying away from things that can be that addictive and probably damaging to your body over time. Then we got Medics. Medics gives you damage resistance. This one does have a 10% addiction rate. This one is really good. It makes it so if you're playing on like the very hard difficulty, you can actually tank through a couple hits that you otherwise wouldn't be able to. Like if you stack this with Buffout, you can survive a lot of stuff that you otherwise wouldn't. So highly recommend that you carry around some Medics on you at really any point in the game, because if you get to low HP or you are about to fight something strong like Deathclaws, pop some Medics, it's going to help you out. As to whether or not I'd use Medics, I'm going to put it up in going on a trip, but I probably wouldn't want to use this regularly because, you know, morphine abuse would be really, really bad. But it would be good to keep in your doctor's bag because, you know, you might need it for something. If you horribly break a limb, for example, you may want to take this, then take your Hydra, then take your Fixer if you feel like you're getting addicted to something. Maybe then pop your Buffout so that you can actually get back to a doctor. You know, that would probably be a pretty reasonable combo to have in the Wasteland. It would also be super useful if you came across somebody who was horribly maimed or something, and you needed to get them to a doctor. Having something like this could be useful. I know morphine's not really used anymore in military use, because it drops your heart rate, so that could be really bad. And instead it's something else. I don't remember exactly what it is. But I know it was used for quite a while in, like, World War II. You also have it used even before that. Like, I know one of the common misconceptions of, like, the American Civil War is, like, non-use of things like this, and then just, like, amputation, so, like, without any sort of anesthetic to them. That isn't really that true, and given the time period, they would probably have, like, the really good stuff, like the unregulated stuff. So I'm sure you probably wouldn't feel a thing. Funny enough, this actually pops up in another game, like in Red Dead Redemption 2. You do see that happen when one guy, I think gets bit by a snake, or maybe he was shot in the arm or something like that, and you take him back to the doctor there, and you see him stick him with, like, morphine, and he pretty much passes out immediately, and then, like, saws his arm off after applying, like, a tourniquet to it. So, like, that one is actually a pretty, as far as I'm aware, pretty accurate rendition of, like, what old surgeries would be like, at least done in the proper facilities and everything. That would still be horrible in the Wasteland because it would be a very similar thing where you'd probably, like, die from infection. But, I mean, it would be good to have, like, morphine on you if you had it. Then we've got medical supplies. Oh, yeah, medical supplies. I forgot about these that even exist. These are the exact same as doctor's bags, just they don't weigh anything. They're only used for a quest, though, so I put it up here, but realistically, you're not going to be using it. Same thing with, like, if I would use it, sure. And then we got Mentats, Dr. Mobius's favorite chem. And I'm not sure what Mentats actually is. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be, like, some sort of Adderall or something like that, because this one gives you increased intelligence, perception, and charisma for a certain amount of time. But it does have an addiction rate. It's only a 5% addiction rate, though, so it's not very often that you're going to get addicted to this. And these are actually really, really useful to have. So I'm going to put them up here just so that you can get through, like, speech checks, science checks, lockpicking checks. It's really good to have Mentats on you. As to whether or not I'd use Mentats, maybe? I don't know. Probably won't use them as much as, like, Dr. Mobius, but Dr. Mobius is just, like, floating in a jar of chems. So, you know, he's probably had years and years to build up some tolerance to that. It would be kind of cool, though, to be able to lockpick a little bit better or focus a little bit better for a short amount of time. Then we got Party Time Mentats. These ones work pretty much the same way as regular Mentats. They have a 3 times more addiction rate at 15%, but they give you plus 5 charisma instead of plus 1. The other bonuses are the same. This one is really good to have, too, if you need to have it. You will need to make these. I don't think you can get them anywhere else, but if you do make them, it's kind of nice to have one of them around just in case you need to pass a charisma or a speech check or something. As to whether or not I use these, again, maybe. These are more addictive, so I'd probably steer clear of these, but I might use the other ones. Hard to say. Then we've got Psycho. Psycho is pretty good. Psycho is plus 25% more damage for 240 seconds. This does have a 20% addiction rate, but this one's going to go into God mode in a syringe. Psycho is just one of the best chems in the game, especially with how early you can get it. Giving you that huge 25% damage buff to really any build is pretty significant. And even if you're not going with, like, a very powerful weapon, even if you're going with a small weapon, 25% is still very, very good. Would I use Psycho? Maybe, given the circumstances. If I need it to kill something right away, like something is about to try to kill me, then yeah, I would probably pop this, but this one seems very, very suspicious to be using, and you wouldn't really want to abuse this. I feel like this would be one of the worst chems to actually abuse. Then we got Rad-X, one of the more normal chems. This one just gives you radiation resistance. God mode in a syringe, it's fantastic to have Rad-X on you. You might get too much of it because there's not a whole lot of radiation in New Vegas, but you can always sell them for extra money. As to whether or not I'd use this, yeah, absolutely. It's just kind of standard pills. Might do like damage over time to your organs. You never know with how often you're taking these, but I mean, that's better than dying from radiation in the short term, I guess. RadAway makes it so you get rid of your rads. This is rads over time if you're playing on hardcore, or it's rads immediately if you're using this in the regular game. This one also going to go into God mode syringe. It's always fantastic to have RadAway on you. They don't weigh anything. You might as well have it. If I was going to take it, yep, absolutely. It's good to have this on hand just so that you can get rid of those pesky rads if you do get too many of them and you start developing radiation sickness. Rebound's kind of interesting. Rebound just gives you action point regeneration. This is 5 action point regeneration for 60 seconds. This one's just not very good. I don't even think Rebound's good on like a VATS build. It's okay, so I'm going to put it up into the rad radiation or rad rationing, but it's just not really that useful. You likely won't need it. Maybe if you're in a long drawn out fight and you're using VATS a lot, it can be kind of useful, but that's about it. There's not going to be a whole lot of situations where you're in a fight so long that you can't just wait for your action points to regenerate. So yeah, it's alright. As to whether or not I would use this, probably not. This is like a jet addiction in it too. So this has a 20% addiction rate, which is not good. And I just don't think it's one of the greater chems to be like having on you anyway. Rocket is 30 action points, so it's double the amount of action points as regular jet, but it does have 30% jet addiction rate. So this one I would put a tier higher up into Day Tripper. This one is pretty significant because there are quite a few weapons I can think of that could get like an extra 2 attacks from this. And that's pretty nice in a VATS build. Not really one of my favorites because I don't really use VATS all that much. As to whether or not I'd use this, no. Again, staying away from any of the jet inspired chems. They seem kind of sketchy. Then we got Rushing Water. This one reduces your H2O if you're playing on the hardcore mode. It gives you 50% more attack speed. This is for everything, which is really, really strong on most weapons unless they're like single shot weapons. And it also gives you healing over time. This one's going to go up into God mode. It is fantastic on really any build, unless you're going with like a very specific weapon build, like you're using grenade rifle only, in which case this one's still going to be okay, because, I mean, the healing, if nothing else. Or if you're using like a Fat Man only build or something. If you're using any melee or unarmed build, it's fantastic. If you're using any multi-shot weapon, it's fantastic. As to whether or not I'd use Rushing Water, it doesn't have any addiction rate, and it is just water. Although it's better water. Again, this might do damage over time to your body, but I'm going to put it up on going on a trip. I probably wouldn't want to take it as often as just regular water for, you know, survival needs, but, I mean, if it doesn't have any downside to it, like it states, then it would just be better than regular water, although you may want to still save it for special occasions. And then we got Slasher. Slasher is basically Psycho plus Medics combined, and since they're both up here, this one's got to go up here. This one does have a 20% addiction rate, but it gives you plus 25 damage resistance and plus 25% more damage for a whole minute. That's really, really good. As to whether or not I would use this, again, maybe. It would be useful to have on hand. It still sketches me out the way that it looks, though, and I wouldn't want to stick it into my arm, but, I mean, if it keeps you alive in a situation where you otherwise would be not alive, you're probably going to use it. And then we've got Steady. This is the chem that I got completely wrong on my last video, because this one reduces your weapon spread for 60 seconds, which is pretty important. This may not sound that great, because honestly it isn't if you're not using VATS, but if you are using VATS, this makes it so your weapon is pretty much like as accurate as it's going to be. It gives you pretty much the maximum accuracy that you would in VATS. This does have a very high addiction rate though, at 80% though. So I would say that this one probably should go up to Day Tripper. I put it down into like the bottom tier last time. So yeah, Steady is a lot better than I originally gave it credit for. I wasn't aware that it worked so well in VATS. Granted, I don't use VATS all that much, so that's probably the reason why I wasn't aware of it. And I don't know if I've ever taken this and then swapped to VATS. But if you do that, it does help out quite a bit more. As to whether or not I would take Steady, probably no way. With like an 80% addiction rate, that just doesn't sound good. I mean, maybe if you needed to really make one really long-range shot or something. Potentially. But that's like the only time you would probably want to take something like this. Then we got Stimpaks and Super Stimpaks. These ones are also going to go up into the God mode of the syringe. They're just basic healing throughout the game, or they're money. Either way. The only downside to the Super Syringe is that you do have the Super Syringe sickness. So you get -1 strength, -1 agility over time. As to whether or not I'd use these, again, they're kind of like standard healing, so they kind of have to go up here. There's no other place where they could go. Still be kind of sketched out using them the first couple of times, but you probably get used to it in the Wasteland. And then we got Turbo. Turbo is probably one of the best chems, if not the best chem in the game. This one slows down time for 3 seconds, which is really, really good. This one does have 20% addiction rate, so it is kind of high, but this one's going to go into God mode in the syringe. It is really, really strong. As to whether or not I would use Turbo, maybe. I mean, it would be super useful if you could actually slow down time or increase your reaction speed. I guess it wouldn't really be slow down time. It would be increase your reaction speed so high, and I guess your movement so high that you could actually respond to stuff. But again, this is like jet. It's like a jet pipe attached to like a hairspray bottle that you're just inhaling. And that would be super sketchy. That does not seem healthy or right at all. So then we've got Ultra Jet. Ultra Jet gives you the most amount of action points at 40, but it does give you a 20% chance of getting the Ultra Jet addiction, which is worse than regular addictions because this one you can't actually get rid of. So the downsides to this one are really, really bad, and I'd put it into the junk tier because you probably shouldn't be using this. Regular Jet and like the Rocket are better. You might as well just use those, even though they give you less of an overall bonus for your VATS build. But taking this on the off chance that you get addicted to it and then can't become unaddicted, when the downsides are -2 agility, -1 perception, and -2 strength, that's a lot of minuses that are pretty bad. So that's why it's going to go all the way down here. As to whether or not I'd use this, absolutely not. This is like one that I would not touch at all, because like just the possibility of getting like a lifetime addiction that you can't get rid of is horrifying. And then our very last thing that we got is the Weapon Binding Ritual. This one restores limb condition, which is really good. It also gives you +10 more melee damage for a little bit, which is great, and +10 more unarmed damage, but it does give you a little bit of -HP. This one is going to go up into like Day Tripper as well. It's really good on a melee or an unarmed build. Outside of that, it can still be useful for the limb regeneration. It's probably better than a lot of these other chems that are up here. So that one is pretty nice. As to whether or not I would use this, maybe? I don't know. I think this one has poison in it. Let me check what the Weapon Binding Ritual actually has. Healing powder, a knife, a leather belt, and wonder glue. How this gives you that, I don't know, but alright. And this is where I'd put all the chems as to whether or not I would be willing to try them. Again, this is just made as a joke. Don't actually try any of these. Don't actually do illegal chems in the Wasteland or anywhere else in the world. That would probably be very bad for your health. If you do have a problem with any substance or anything like that, there are resources out there to help you, and this was just made for fun. So here's all the chems as to how useful they kind of are in the game, at least in my opinion, and to which ones I would actually be using. Thank you guys so very much for watching this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for recommending this too. I remember Cam Man actually recommended this when I was streaming Stalker, so do appreciate that. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.